Ooh, that looks tasty. You're striving for harmony, and if you try to take too much, you'll come to grief. Just one game, they said, and started to play. That was yesterday. Go is to Western chess as philosophy is to double entry accounting. Man, who cares about all that? Let's just take this thing, let's slap some paint on it, let's bedazzle a little bit, let's freshen it up, and let's get it on the table. Let's go! Welcome, folks. Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another Kickstarter preview. And today we are talking about Mitropia. The game designed by Andrzej Jarzina, Kerry Safan, Piotr Zukowski, and Stephen Wilmot, and I apologize if I said any of those wrong, with art by Hans Krill and Jamie Noble. Now, before I get started, please make sure you turn on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make a mistake, that is where you will find the corrections. Now, Mitropia is a game that is very heavily based on the classic game of Go, which is thousands of years old and is considered one of the greatest strategy games out there. People often compare it to chess, but many will say that Go is more strategic than even chess is. I'm not much of a chess player, so I can't speak to that myself, but for an idea, that is what Go is. And this game kind of jazzes it up a bit, gives you different factions with different powers, and the gameplay is a little more, I'll say, board game-like than perhaps you would have in Go. Now, if you are not at all interested in how this game is played, and you just want to hear my final thoughts, then you want to jump ahead to the timestamp on the screen right now. So for those of us still here, let's talk about what it is that we see in front of us. Here we have the board, which is made up of tiles, and this is set up for a two-player game, which is smaller. The more players you have, the more tiles you have out. And I do believe I actually may have set this up wrong, but that's okay for what we're doing. You get the idea of what it looks like. On the map, we have grasslands and forests, which are functionally the same. And we have the portal here. You can go down the portal here, pop out here. In larger games, there might be more of them, which gives you more options of where to pop out on. And then we have the mountains, which are obstacles and impassable. Additionally, we have our two factions we've selected here. Let me grab another one to give you an idea of what they look like. Up close, you can see some of the other options that we have here. Then we have our player tokens. In this case, I have purple and yellow. And finally, we have our cards, which will be how we move, and there are some special abilities in there as well. Each player starts the game with 5 cards. The goal of the game is to, by the end of the game, control the most territory and or have captured the most enemy troops. Now I say and or, that's not really true. Capturing enemy troops is really just with bonus points. The game ends when there are no more moves that someone can actually make that are intelligent moves. And the other way the game ends is if someone has their leader captured. So let's quickly look at how it works. So what's going to happen is, to start the game, each player will look through their hand of cards. You'll see I have some power cards, and then I have these 3 patterns here. And you're going to pick one of these patterns, and this is going to be your standard pattern that you're going to use. The first thing that you do in the game is you set your leader, and your leader is pretty simply made up of 2 stones, they call them, stacked on top of each other and then placed along the second ring of the map. So I'll put purple there, and we'll just put yellow right there. The next thing you do is you go through your cards and you pick one of these pattern cards. These are abilities, these are patterns, and that's going to be your standard ability. And this is a movement that you can always do. So I will simply take this one here and I put it down on my board. This arrow here simply is showing what direction your pattern is oriented. So the arrow is facing this way. The dark spot in the middle represents one of your warriors, in this case my leader. So I can go with my leader, gotta get my angle right. There we go. So I can go here, 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 here. I could go there, except that is impassable with that pattern. And I'll explain that in a little bit. And then the other player does the same. And so we'll just select that one. Then on your turn, you will very simply place a stone. And so in this case, maybe I place there. Done. End of my turn. If you have less than 5 cards, you draw 1. And I drew another ability. So my other side here, we'll just say that they will go here. Because you see they could go here, here, here. And the other one over there doesn't work for anything. And they'll draw a card, so they're back to 5. Now the other options of what you can do on your turn is you can play a pattern from your hand. You can just play it as a one-time play, and you can do that from your warriors, or you can take it and replace your standard pattern. So now you will always have that option, but the old one you had goes away. The other thing that you can do is you can play one of these special cards. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but Charge 2, for example, simply allows me to place one of my warriors, one of my stones, within 2 spaces of another warrior. So I could go here, 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 all over the place. So I'll just go there and discard that. And there's all sorts of things that you can do, and you get the idea. There's lots of powers. Now, the way the game is played is you can put your stones out wherever you like out on the board. And as long as you have a free space next to your stone or the group that they are in, by group I mean connected stones, so this is an entire group, that's a group, that is a group, and that is a group, then you're fine. If at any point your stone gets completely surrounded or has no, they call them liberties, no empty spaces next to it, you have been captured. So this one would have been captured by yellow. Now, in the same vein, you can capture a group as well if you manage to do it. And this is not a space that they can go, counts as an obstacle, and this also actually counts as an obstacle as far as liberties are concerned. Then yellow would have captured all 3 of those. And when the end of the game finally does come around. Now, the end of the game, as I've already said, will be triggered by either capturing the faction leader of one side, or if there are no more intelligent moves that someone can make. So, as you look here, you would say if it was yellow's turn, well, yellow can go here, 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 or here. That's true, they can, but there's no point. There's not an intelligent move because they've already captured that territory. They already own it. They're already getting those points. So the game would end. Now that's a very oversimplified version of how it works, and I will also say that each faction has their own powers, so the powers are being reworked, and some of them have to do with how you can move or how you score, but those are being reworked, so I'm not going to go into those, but they do exist. And then whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. So what do I like about this game? First off, I like that it is highly strategic. It really is all about your strategy. Yes, there's a little bit of luck and a little bit of randomness when you come to these cards here, but it's all about trying to predict what your opponent might do, which is just a delight. Now, where it separates itself from a game like chess, for me, is that there is the element of the unknown. With a game like chess, you always know what they can do. With this, you don't. You see what I can do for free, but you're not seeing my hidden patterns. You're not seeing, am I going to play one at random and then simply place somewhere else? Or am I going to change out my pattern for the foreseeable future? And that's going to alter everything I can do. And obviously you don't know what all my other cards are, which I think really, to me, makes it more of a game and less of a pure strategic challenge. I view something like chess as a pure strategic challenge. It's too much for my brain. So I like that. Additionally, I like these card plays. They're all very different. They do different things. They're powerful, but there's not so many of them in the deck that you wind up with tons of them all the time. I find them to be not overpowered, but just powerful enough to really keep you on your toes. And even the ones that do affect the other player directly, they still get to take another turn. It just messes with their strategy a little bit, which I think is really, really clever, really well done. And I also like the promise of these different factions that come with it. In addition to that, they are working on several, I'm going to call them modules or ways to play the game, which again will vary up your gameplay, and I think those are very clever and have the potential to be a lot of fun. Full disclosure, I have not played them because this actually arrived, I believe, the day after the Kickstarter launched, so this is a rushed preview to get it out there, so I've only played the base version of the game. In addition, I like even though the player powers are going to change, I do like what they have at the moment and the way that they will work. They'll change the game, but not so much that it makes it to where you feel like it's completely overpowered. I think that's going to be very well done. And finally, I like that because this game is made up of tiles, yes, you can make it bigger and smaller, but you also have the option to, if you want, making an oddly shaped board, which can really change up your experience. So I think all of that is wonderful. And I also think the art's pretty cool on these cards here. And the tiles, they look nice as well. So what are my quibbles with the game? And my first quibble is the theme of the game. It doesn't really come through, other than the art on these cards here. That's it. It really is more of an abstract game. And that's not a bad thing, but I do wish that somehow the theme of these rival factions and the support of their gods and so on came through just a little bit more than it does. I'll also say that while I like these cards, I wish that they both had some art on them. Again, that could actually help a little bit with the theme perhaps. And I wish that it said on the card what the card actually does. Because right now you see when you have to go to a player aid or into the rule book, and that's just slows the game down to everything memorized. I will say that I have been told that they will definitely at least have some iconography on the cards that tell you what they do and also make it language independent, and they are looking at the possibility of adding art to it. But as of now, it's not there. And then along with that, I think these tokens here, they call them stones, are fine, they work. And while I wish that they looked a little more, again, like the factions that you're using, again, could help with that theme a little bit, I am bummed out by the way your leader is signified. Just stacking one on top of the other. Yes, again, it works, but it's just not very exciting. It's not very satisfying. I know they're talking about if they get a huge funding, perhaps they'll have a miniature for each faction, maybe. I don't know about that, and I don't know that it needs that. But even if it was just a wooden meeple, or even if it was just one of these same tokens that was screen printed with something on there, that could, again, just kind of up it just a little bit, because this just isn't particularly satisfying. And for you, looking straight down, you can't even tell which one is the leader, which is here and here. And so I think that's a little bit of a miss. I will also say that these tiles are double-sided for no reason right now, and I do believe that's also going to change. And that brings me to my last current quibble, and that is that there is functionally no difference between the grasslands and the forest. And to me, that's kind of a miss. Why bother having them all different if they're not going to do anything different? It even kind of takes away some of, again, the theme of the game to me, because it is very different to me, the idea of holding a grassland, a wide open plain, versus holding a forest. And again, I know that that is something that they are looking at adding into the game, of making the various tiles have a difference at the end of the game, whether it is scoring or during the game. So that is something they're also looking at. So there you have it, folks. That is Mitropia. I think this is a cool game. I think they've done a good job of taking a classic game that a lot of people know and play, and they've made it less intimidating. They've made it a little more board gamified, if that's a word. It's not, but I'm going to say it. And just by adding this tiny bit of asynchronization, it really ups it to me. So I think this game is a fun one, especially if you're looking for a game that is very high strategy and very low luck. There's not a lot of luck in this game. Yes, you're drawing cards, but you have 5 in your hand, you know what you got. You can even have a movement pattern that just stays out there the entire game if you want. So the luck value is very low, strategy is very, very high. And even with all of my quibbles about the tokens, it does look pretty cool when you get it out there on the table. There you have it, folks. That is Mitropia. I think if you're someone who likes area control and strategy, then this is a game that you need to check out. I believe at the time of the filming, they're at about 85% funded, so they will be funding is my guess, and they'll be on to unlocking some of those stretch goals as well. But you can find down in the comments a link to the Kickstarter that is ongoing right now. As always, if I made any mistakes in the description of the game, please do let me know in the comments with a timestamp. I'll get those in the Klingon subtitles. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, or share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.